online dating from all the way from Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, or in this case, Tinder, has always been something that many people had tried for a long time now and had either good success or somebody never not as good match or anything. But I should mention I have been hearing a lot of stories that young women have been either catfished or harassed on Tinder dates apps. And before this, I had never even used any dating apps or dating sites before this. Because prior to this, I was actually engaged with a guy for at least about a year, but we have been dating for about 3 years. Even though we hadn't even set the date for our future wedding, but when he proposed to me, I was super excited. I mean, I was beyond the moon in happiness. But one day, when I came home from work, I found him on the couch and he looked quite serious. He told me that we need to talk. And I sat down and he told me that our engagement was over. I was like, over? We had only been engaged for like at the time about a year. I asked him for it to be more clearly, but he told me that our relationship was done. I was shocked. I asked him what they actually meant by that, and he has to somehow get angry. Like, I'm not in love with you anymore, he said. And he demanded to get the ring back. And I was hesitating to even to give it, but I did. I didn't want to have any more fights with him. And after that he took it, he just grabbed his backpack and a suitcase that he actually had with him by the door, which honestly I didn't even notice that when I came home. After he left, I sat on the couch for only a couple of minutes until I went to the bedroom and found out he had taken all his things. But it wasn't much later on when I found out the reason why. He had fallen in love with another girl, someone who was around just only 1 year older than himself. And they even got engaged just barely about 6 months ago. I was petrified. Or, well, not petrified, but I was more as, well, angry. So ever since the breakup, I had always been just be myself. I decided to focus on my work and forget about him and just move on. But after about a while, I decided I wanted to get to try to find someone new to be with, or at least go out in a dating scene again. Some of my friends suggested that I should try Tinder. I was like, "Oh, that is are you really?" I told them, "Are really you sure?" Despite knowing how much people have been catfished or at least stalked by it. But then my friends told me, "It just try it at least." I was like, "All right, I give it a try." So I downloaded it on my phone. Sure, I was just made a few a short profile of myself, like what I like to do and something like that. And I'm sure after a couple of days, I wasn't mad. I was matched with several guys, but but most of them were just only after a hookup or just one night stand, which I was not looking for. So I unmatched them. But it was one guy, Gabriel. Gabriel was only 1 year older. He was just only 24 at the time, and he was quite good looking, brown hair, brown eyes, well fit, and he liked the training. And I was like, okay, this could be a potential boyfriend or maybe just potential casual dating. So we talked for a couple of days on the Tinder, but before we moved to our actual phone numbers and we started talking on the phone. And we actually then said, after about a week, we set a date for our first official date to go out. And I suggest that we go to this small Mexican restaurant nearby. And he suggested that he will be there. So I got dressed nicely for the first date, and I arrived just maybe only a few minutes before we were supposed to meet. I went in, sat down. I was even though hesitating that Gabriel was not the one on the photo, and he's gonna be like a mid-age older man or a middle-aged man or something. But when I saw the door open, a young man, exact description, and in fact, it was him. I was at least happy to know that I wasn't catfished. We gave each other a hug and said hi to each other, and we sat down and started small talking before we ordered some food. And he was actually pleasant to talk about. I mean, he was pretty, he was quite good looking. He had strong, I couldn't describe it right now, but it was like a strong personality about him. I mean, he was like some girls, but some women were like, he was like a Greek goddess or a Greek god. It's like, that's a little bit cringe, but some made up part of that might be true, but I started to like him. After our first date, we decided maybe to try again sometimes, maybe later that week. And he did texted me during the week from just, how are you? And I told him if I don't answer right away or something, or if it might be because I'm at work or if I'm doing something at home. He actually respected that. And we said to each other like good night or good morning. But after about maybe another week, we actually went on our second date. And I should mention, it wasn't until like our fourth date when things really went downhill fast. But during our second and third date, everything went well. We went to the movies on our second date, and the third date we went to a restaurant near his place. The fourth date, he didn't know exactly where to go, but I suggested maybe another restaurant that was in town. But he thought maybe that was not a bad idea, so we thought about this Italian restaurant. But he didn't show up until like maybe 10 minutes late. He said he had some problem with his car. And I understand that much. I mean, I have an old car at the time, and I had some issues with myself, so I could relate to that. But when he showed up, he looked a bit mad, or at least, well, on the bad mood swing. So I tried to talk to him, but he brushed me off and like, don't worry, that's nothing. When I asked him what made him so mad or in this bad mood, I was just trying, but he said like, don't probe me for answers. I was shocked. This was not like this guy that I was been dating before. And I only said I just wanted to make sure that so what? He asked, like what? I told him that I just want to be trying to make him feel happy, or at least feeling good by himself. Like try to relax and just enjoy your date, not have to be in a bad mood. And whatever he made him mad, just put it behind him and focus on the date. He gave a big sigh and said, "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It just a frustrated day at a job," he said. That's understandable. Even I have frustrated sometimes. But so we started talking, and suddenly, as we were having our dinner, his phone was ringing, but he declined the call. But when he went to the restroom for a moment later on, I did notice his phone dinged, and I saw there was the number, or was the name Sarah. And I shouldn't have done it, but it probably saved me from this complete maniac or this complete crazy guy. Because it turned out, when I looked at it, he had even a photo of himself with her holding arm, heads next to each other, smiling as a background profile on the phone itself, on the screen. I was like really curious, and when I came back, I asked him about it, and he actually got mad, and he said like, How dare you to look at my phone? He almost screamed. I told him I didn't look on the phone itself. I only saw when he got a text message that only the background, the screen lit up, and I saw him on the photo. And at the moment, another text message, and he looked down, and sure enough, the profile, or at least the screen photo showed. Then I pointed, "Who is that?" At first, he was quiet, and he said that was actually his late girlfriend who passed away in an accident. I was very surprised, but I told him I'm sorry to hear that, and I didn't probe him much more about that. But I shouldn't have been mentioning this, but at the time, we weren't even officially dating. But before we left, he apologized for this strange behavior, and I felt a little bit, well, taken aback. But then he asked if we wanted to go to his place to continue our date, to maybe watch a movie, have some snacks. I thought, why not? I mean, this middle of the still is a Friday, and I don't work on the Saturdays. So, and it was early, like 7 p.m. So I thought, why not? So we went to his car, and we went to his place, and I had been there before, so I was at least familiar with that place. But when we went there, he went in the kitchen, made some popcorn, and he went to the restroom, and his phone was again on the table, on the living room table, and the name Sarah once again popped up, and I saw the message before it vanished, or before it faded away. "Please call me, honey. I'm worried." I was now curious. Who? And when he came back, I just wanted to know. I didn't want to sound any particular nosy or anything. I just asked him, since he did mention his late girlfriend passed away in an accident, and he actually didn't seem angry this time to that. So I only asked him what were her name. He actually looked at me and said her name was Sarah. I asked if it was a car accident. He nodded. Yeah, I hope at least that she didn't suffer too much. No, according to the doctors, that she didn't. So he sat down next to me, and we enjoyed the movie, but I felt uncomfortable because I know he lied to me. Because the girl on the photo was Sarah. So if she's supposed to be dead, how would she been able to text him and even call him? And after that, about around 9 p.m. or so, I thought it was time for me to go home. So he drove me to the restaurant where I took my car home. And I talked to some of my friends about this strange, and all agreed this was very strange. One of my friends said, "That's very shady or very fishy," as she said it, as a reference of being catfish. But I asked her, "Do you think this girl actually could have been someone he actually been seeing on the side?" But one of my friends said, "Well, it shouldn't be jealousy because after all, you're not even dating him officially yet, are you?" As I said, no. But what if he actually has been a girlfriend behind my back and he's dating me as his side girl or something? Some of them, all my friends in the group chat, which I were in at the time, said, "You really need to look that up though." Luckily, since I know his full name, I looked that up on Facebook, sure enough. And this what hit the fan. Turned out he was married. Sarah was his wife, not a late girlfriend. I was pissed. Considering that he lied to me for the past few weeks and lied to his own wife. So, I decided not telling him this directly because he will try to deny it and try to make some stories and excuses. But luckily though, I recognized where his wife worked, She was supposed to be working at this grocery store, and I thought, bingo, I know the store. So I decided to go there the next few days to call to process all this and to inform her. So next 2 days, I actually went to her workplace, and sure enough, when I was in the store, I immediately recognized her from when she was on one of the aisles. I walked up to her and asked, "Sarah?" "Yes," she asked. "You may not know me, but my name is Ellen, and have been dating your husband, Gabriel." She looked at me confused and said, "You must be mistaken because Gabriel is my husband." And while I said, "Yeah, I have been dating your husband for the past few weeks," she didn't believe me and asked for proof. So I showed my phone with photos of me and him on a dates at the restaurant, the movies. She looked pissed and shocked. I asked her, "And if you're really married?" She said yes and even showed me her ring. And I told her what he told me. She was not happy. So, turned out he was going to pick her up after work, and we decided to make standing outside this lit store to wait for him. Well, I was standing behind a pillar, and she was standing in front of it, and she said, "He's here, be ready." So when he stood up the car and walked up to her, she said, "Mm-hmm." That was the code for me to step out. And he was smiling, but when he saw me walking around from the corner, he looked very worried and scared. Uh, uh, "So you've been caught red-handed," she said. "Honey, this is not what it looks like. I know you've been cheating on me for the past few weeks." She told me. She showed me evidence. She even had showed me the text message between you two. But luckily for at least one thing, me and Gabriel had only been hugging and kissing, not anything like more than that. But it still counts cheating after all. He lied to me that he was single and had been using a dating app like Tinder for quite some time apparently, and when she demanded proof, and he still makes excuses that I wasn't dating him, that I was his friend from work, or that I was just a friend of his that we should spend time. Oh yeah, friends who kissing, hugging, cuddling, and going dates, I said. He tried to make excuses that I wasn't actually dating him, that we just hang out as friends. Then I asked, "Okay, if we are friends, why are you on Tinder?" He denied us ever used that. But he instead said, "I know you have been there because I have seen your profile." And he then broke down and said, "I'm sorry. I couldn't resist it. It was just trying to see what it was like. I wasn't trying to deal with cheating on you." And he confirmed that we didn't even sleep together. At least she believed me on that one. But he said that like he wasn't trying to do it for cheating on me, on her. It's just more as just to see what other women would think of him. He never intended to even go this far. But then Sarah said just a few words, "I want divorce." At that was when Gabriel lost it. He lost his mind. But he started screaming at me for throwing his marriage. Me, I thought. He was the one who actually did it. And he started screaming, "I will sue you for throwing my marriage," he screamed at me and started almost walking up to me. But then I asked my trump card. I had a guy walked up to him and said, "Back off, buddy. No more steps." And that was Simon. Here's the thing. I called my best friend Simon because I needed someone as a bodyguard to not only me, but Sarah, just in case if Gabriel would go physical attacking or something. Good thing I did, because Gabriel didn't want to even have anything, because he said, "You are done. I'm gonna punch you to a bloody pulp so that not even your own parents will recognize you." He screamed at me. "And you," he pointed at Sarah, "you will not divorce me. You can't do that. I'll not allow you." He started showing his red colors. Then he attacked, ran up to me to try to punch me, but Simon grabbed him and held him in chokehold, and Sarah was crying of fear, but I was not, because sure, I was having adrenaline shock. But I called for 911, and they came. They attained Gabriel, and I told them my side of the story and showed the proof, and Simon told them everything what happened. And they even said, "You can always watch the security camera," said Sarah, and point up to the wall, because we were near a security camera. And they did look at the cameras, and they took Gabriel to the car, and he screamed all the way there, like, "Forgive me, Annie, I didn't mean it." But then he switched to like more, "I'm gonna kill you too when you get out." But the police officers really told him, assured him that he is not getting out. And while he was in jail, at least in jail for some time, I managed to help Sarah to file for divorce, and me and her also filed for restraining order against him. After some while, her divorce was finalized, and Gabriel was forced to stay about maybe as up to 500 feet from both of us. And that was the last time I even heard or even saw him. Last I heard, he moved out of town, and yeah. Me and Simon, though, I thanked him for it that night. He was there as my personal bodyguard, met all to Sarah, but he said he didn't mind standing up for his friend. But then he also admitted his feelings towards me. Turned out he had been in love with me for some time, but just hadn't really had the courage to tell me. And he actually is my boyfriend now, and it getting strong. And what about Sarah? After her divorce with Gabriel, what about her? Well, I can say this. She is my best friend now. We actually are still hanging out from time to time, and she is going to be the godmother of my baby girl that I am currently waiting with Simon, and she got it been happier. She is currently dating another guy that's Simon knew, and especially a guy that was perfect. And if Gabriel would even show up, well, Sarah's new boyfriend will have one thing that could stay away from him, because he was in the Navy. So she had at least one protection bodyguard at a time. Yeah, so Gabriel, since you were supposed to stay 500 feet away from me and Sarah, and we are both glad you're out of our lives. This was my most disturbing Tinder date relationship, even though it wasn't official, but still, yikes, that was the worst I ever been imagined. But to Gabriel, let us never meet again, please.